Unless she's waiting for.
Good morning, everyone. It's Post Falls Urban Renewal Commission's meeting scheduled for April 19th, 2018. Welcome to everybody that's here, and I'd like to ask the Director Fountain to call the roll, please.
Chairman Pottsell.
Here.
Carstensen.
Here.
Crosby.
Here.
Horn. Here. Coles.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioners Hauser and Davis have excused absences this morning.
Okay, thank you. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, thank you all for coming, and we'll press on with the agenda. The first item on the agenda is ceremonies, appointments, and announcements, and I have one for a change. Diane and I have one together. A week ago last Monday, Diane and I had the opportunity to fly to Boise for lunch. I know that sounds kind of silly, but we were invited by JUB Engineering to go down to Boise for an award ceremony that they were receiving an award, statewide award for their work in Greens Ferry overpass. And so we went down, got up mighty early in the morning, flew down to Boise, and Diane made me to work for a couple hours in the lounge doing real work because it was closed, because we had some time on our hands based on how early we got there. But we got some good stuff done there, and then we went to the meeting, and I won't bore you too much with that other than we sat with Jay Hassel from JUB Engineering, and they were very kind and courteous to us and treated us pretty special, and so did all the other engineers. It was a statewide engineering conference, and the award ceremony were to recognize engineering firms in a variety of categories. The category that JUB fell into with this project that worked on with us was in transportation. And I think they had 3 winners, but they were the #1 winner. And what was surprising to us is that when they called Jay up to get his award up to the front, they also called Diane and I up to the front, and not only presented him with a plaque, but presented us with a plaque. And the plaque's very beautiful. We're going to pass it around. It's very beautiful, and I believe on the bottom, underneath JUB Engineering, it shows Post Falls Urban Renewal Agency as a partner in that award. I thought that was
Pretty nice.
was pretty awesome. So Diane, she hasn't let that out of her sight for ever since we got back, but just for the folks watching us on TV, there's a picture up at the top which is in color, taken from the air, probably from a drone. I don't know how they did it, but of our opening ceremonies with the bridge. And it's really pretty special. So Diane, I know you'd like to pass this around to the people here and guard it with your life. You could do that right now, just so they can all see it, and I can even share it with the folks here if you like. So anyway, we were pretty proud of it, and it was a surprise because we thought we were just going down there to be partners with JUB, but not to that extent. That was a very, very nice surprise.
Very nice.
I don't know how you'd get this picture any better, so any of you who have a chance to see this, you really need to take a look at it. So that's for all of us. We're all part of that, and it was just a really special time, wasn't it?
It was, definitely.
Anything to add?
No, just that when they had reader boards up there where you could see the different projects, and that picture was on there, and Jerry says, "Boy, I'd sure like to have a copy of that picture." And so it was really surprising that when we got that award, it was on the
Yeah, they had a
plaque.
really nice display with our bridge and the different facets of it, not just the finished product. And I even had a blurb in there about how we used increment financing for it. And we felt like a part of that whole ceremony because of how they dealt with it. So we were just glad that we went, I can tell you that. So
Yeah. Yeah, it was very nice.
Thank you for supporting us in doing that. Okay, conflict disclosure. Is there any commissioner that has any conflicts to disclose with anything that's on the agenda this morning? Okay, if not, we'll move into the consent calendar. Director Fountain?
Good morning, Commissioners. Item A in the consent calendar is the commission meeting minutes of March 15th. Item B is the District Review Committee minutes of April 12th. Item C for this month is the payables totaling $44,573.81. Item D is the bank activity report, which shows total in all funds of $3,507,139.08 and accrued interest for the month of $4,781.59. Item E is the financial reports as of March 31st, and you will see that on the increment received worksheet, the obligation and carryover balances have been updated as of March 31st. That would be on page 13 of your packet. And I have included the second quarter budget versus actual report. That would be page 14. Your approval of the consent calendar will authorize a transfer of $4,781.59 accrued interest to the general fund and transfer to the Community First checking account $44,573.81 for the general payables. I would answer any questions.
Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. First, just a comment on the minutes of the District Review Committee. I was really gratified to see the recommendation by the committee that the district, as we close City Center District, we have a closure report highlighting the things that we accomplished and also any failures in the district. I think this is an excellent opportunity to look back and give those who succeed us as commissioners some sense of history and something to go on when they start forming new districts. So I was really gratified to see that. Thank you, members of that committee. My first question is on page 7. I was surprised to see a bill for Spencer Street. Can you tell me what the date of that bill was and why we're just getting to it now, almost a year after we close that out?
Thank you. The date of that bill was September of 2015.
Whoa.
And it was just sitting in a basket, had not been paid. I looked back into the documents, and it did say that the city and Avista were going to split the cost for utility relocation of the overhead poles, and it was that amount. It was $8,202.18.
So the bill from Avista, or is it a bill from the city that was 2015?
It was a bill from Avista to the city, and then the city contacted me, the engineering department contacted me and asked me, what they should do. And I said, well, they would have to pay that first and then send it to us, which they did. They paid the bill in February and sent me an invoice, and then it's now in our payables.
Okay, but it hasn't been sitting in the commission since 2015?
No.
No.
That was the first I'd seen.
Thank you. And my other question has to do with the budget. The only line item I see that we went over was meetings, and I'm assuming that was the cost associated with going to Boise. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Yeah, which we all agreed was important, and that
Yes.
you've expressed was equally important. Oh,
Yes.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
When we saw the bill from the Avista bill for reimbursement, at first Diane and I talked about it, and I think she even talked with Pete about it, as to whether we had any obligation to pay it this late in the game. But everything that we've read indicated, yes, it was. So that was the first that we knew it was still an outstanding bill. So
I guess if we have to pay it, it's better to pay it late than never, than early.
Yeah.
What if we had closed the district and then that bill showed up?
That's an excellent question.
I would think we wouldn't have to pay it.
We couldn't pay it.
And we wouldn't have any resource to pay it from.
Well, that's what I thought. It just seems
Couldn't take it from another.
unbelievable that 2 years later you get a bill. If I got one of those in the mail, me and somebody would have a long visit.
Yeah, it's pretty strange.
Yep. I think we had something similar to that not long ago too, or maybe it's even pending. But yeah, it blows my mind that it could sit there. Anyway, rather than beat it up, let's. We don't have any other choice but to pay it. It's an obligation that we have due, and we do have funds to cover it. So that's why it's in the consent calendar. Any other questions? Those are valid questions, Lynn.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I would move the approval of the consent calendar.
Second. Second. Okay. Any further discussion? Take a roll call vote.
Sure.
Baltzell?
Aye.
Carstensen?
Aye.
Crosby?
Aye.
Horn? Aye. Coles?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, motion carried. Committee updates. Finance and Policy, Commissioner Crosby.
The committee has reviewed and approved the March financial statements for the commission, and no problems, no issues.
Okay, thank you very much. District Review.
I'll defer to Larry since I missed the meeting that I called for, so.
I'm going to defer because I wasn't listening.
I'll take over for that.
Yeah, you do.
Committee met last Thursday to review the analysis and de-annexation of some properties in the East Post Falls District, which will be an action item under new business this morning. And the other two items that were on the agenda, I would ask Commissioner Coles to schedule another meeting for the committee to create that report on the City Center District as it closes, and also to discuss reimbursement criteria for new districts. So.
Okay. And regarding your comment, Lynn, about the closing of City Center and having the review committee make comments about the good and the bad, because
Yes,
there were
sir.
some bumps in the road
Yes, sir.
in that project. It turned out really nice, and we were able, working with the city, to resolve the things that came up. And I was thinking in particular the lighting was an issue. But if we can make comments along those areas about those things too, then maybe down the road somebody will have a sense to maybe avoid some of the things that we had to deal with and get resolved. But we didn't have any lingering ones that are still a pain in the neck for us, but that is definitely a good suggestion. So, okay, Communications, Property, and Personnel Committee.
Nothing at this point, but maybe later on.
Okay. All right. Any unfinished business? I'm not aware of any that we have pending. Okay, new business. Steve White here to talk to us about Tullamore, give an update. Morning, Steve. Welcome.
Just old school maps with highlighter pens on them.
Thanks, Steve.
Put part of it on here. Morning, Commissioner.
Would you please state your name and address for us, please? And who you're
Steve
with?
White, 10895 North Point Hayden Drive, Hayden Lake, Idaho. Here to give you a little quick update on where we're at on Tullamore. I'm sure most of you have at least driven by it, if not through it, at some point in the time. So we're pretty much reaching the end this year of the residential component of Tullamore. All of Phase 1 was finished off a couple of years ago, the original portions that the original developer did. We have finished Charlesville, the roundabout, Charlesville all the way out to Prairie has been completed. Killdeer, Cecil roads have all been completed, and Hope Avenue has been completed up to the roundabout, as well as all the residential interior infrastructure, and you guys have approved the reimbursements on that. Thank you. The blue is what is currently either being worked on or is in the city for review for projects we're hoping to get done this year for major road completions. That would be finishing Hope out to 41. We did a little bit of a redesign, and rather than have Market Street loop around this way, we're wanting to bring Bogey, or Early Dawn Bogey, whichever they're going to end up calling it, around. And the yellow major infrastructure is future, either next year or following year probably. The actual location of early dawn here is kind of subjective at this point. We're planning on leaving it out until we have actual commercial users for this large piece. We wanted to keep it kind of flexible, not knowing what the future brings for commercial these days. So the remaining units of multifamily are kind of encompassed in what's left here and what Whitewater's doing there. So probably by the end of next year, pretty much the residential component of Tullamore, at least all of the approved original units in the PUD are going to be pretty much completed and done. We do not have at this point a whole lot of anything for commercial. We're still kind of hanging out there waiting for some infrastructure from the state, which thankfully looks like 2020 is going to be the year for Highway 41, which I'm sure you guys are more aware of than I am, and our traffic light at Hope. So hopefully that'll bring a lot more interest in commercial than we're able to get now. But starting to see a little bit of signs, some interest, some inquiries. You know, every quarter we put out to kind of the big brokers, here's what we got, you know, any interest, and we go pursue some of the national users and get a little request for information, you send it out, and then you don't hear a whole lot. So commercial's been moving pretty slow, and that's kind of where we're at. But you know, with coming out of the recovery and after the last 10 years of fun, I'm not feeling too bad about where we got Tullamore to at this point. I did also, just a quick update on the parks. The city is out working on the main Tullamore Park now too, so they are planning on wrapping that up this year. And then the large kind of multi-use park that as soon as they can round up the funds for that, we'll be wrapping up the grading on that this year, and hopefully they'll get it going. That'll be another draw, at least to the area, to this region.
And that larger piece, will that include soccer fields and things like that, or?
I think their plan is more as a multi-use. I think they want they want to be able to have 6 softball fields and then be able to convert that into a usable amount of soccer fields and other types of fields too.
Good.
So that's about what I've got going on.
Well, I
Glad
think
to field any questions.
I think if some of the projects that are currently in the planning stages and maybe infant stages in some cases come to fruition, I think your commercial properties are going to be highly sought after.
I think so. I'm not quite sure these days what future commercial looks like. If it's Amazon fulfillment centers and drones flying over our head, and
sure,
you know, it's small. Kind of one of the reasons we looked at redesign is not having such large pads. And of course, the original Tullamore design was an Irish village, which I'm not quite sure what that would look like these days, besides a big vacant sign on the front of it. So we're trying to keep it flexible, knowing that the smaller, more neighborhood type uses are what we're going to attract first as we get the need. And it's just hard when when you don't have the infrastructure done. You get a very cursory look from any of the national players, and they're just, call us when the traffic lights are in and the road's done, and we'll take another look. And everybody kind of runs off such a strict formula. You can talk about the growth, but that's not how it's done anymore. It's pretty much, we're going to come out, we're going to do our studies. If you don't have the traffic, you don't have the population, we're not interested for national restaurant chains and that. So, but it's coming slowly, and it's good to see Mullins, activity, and that's kind of, and to me, that's how commercial works. Your closest in stuff's getting filled, and then it's going to start working its way out. But
sure,
we're kind of out on the fringe right now, except for the Prairie 41 intersection. I would imagine somebody will commit to something on that at some point in time. That'll get that area sparked up.
Okay.
We've all heard rumors, but
any questions?
Steve, first of all, thank you. Copper Basin stepped into a difficult situation and has done an excellent job. And we certainly appreciate the work that you've done out and your crews have done out there, and the multifamily that you built. My question's having to do with the commercial properties. Is all of the land between Early Dawn and Highway 41, is that all zone commercial, or is some of that zone, or do you anticipate some of that will develop into residential?
all of this, everything that's shown left here is the only thing that's residential. Whitewater's doing their assisted, well, not assisted living, but their apartment project here. And this is our last bit of units that we're planning on doing. The park, this parcel is kind of unknown. It was originally civil church site. We do have some interest from a church at this point, but not at that location. The rest of this is commercial. All of this is commercial. So pretty much everything that's remaining is just kind of blank and is vacant is commercial zone property.
With the plan to improve 41, I'm assuming there's going to be some limited access. Is Early Dawn going to serve as a backing road, or do you anticipate the need to have some traffic signals at Killdeer and Hope in order to accommodate commercial development?
Hope will have a traffic light on it, and that the state is installing that. There will not be traffic lights at Market or Killdeer. And they're going to do half-mile segments. So you'll have Pole Line, Hope, Prairie Avenue, 16th. Those are going to be your traffic lit intersections. So Killdeer and Market Loop are going to be right in, right out only. The kind of change that wasn't on the original plan is this segment of Early Dawn, kind of completing this secondary backage road up, wasn't part of the original PUD, but after working with city staff, we all kind of agreed that, you know, as busy as this intersection's getting, in fact, I actually drove it this morning on the way to here just to kind of see what it was like at 20:10 in the morning, and there was cars backed up to about here. So those transportation needs and improvements, at least for this Prairie and 41 intersection, are very much overdue. And it's only going to get worse in the next couple of years as well, the three major developments that are kind of feeding into this are going to probably add another 200 units to 300 units in that time frame. So it'll be a very busy intersection by the time they get all this stuff done. But we will have that additional traffic light at Hope, and that will.
Do you have any projections?
That'll create some good demand, I would think, on this four-corner area here.
Do you have any projections as to when the residential build-out will be completed?
Probably about the time end of 2019.
2019.
We'll be completely done.
Yeah, I have a question. Did you say that the Tullamore 4th edition had been reserved for a church or something like that? And that is that
In the PUD, this area was, you know, next to the park was a civic use church, and so we have a church looking for a parcel right now that we're in negotiations with. That one wasn't quite big enough for them, so they're kind of looking at a couple of different locations. But
how much property is in that little spot?
by the time you take the road right away out, it's about 4.2 acres.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions for Steve? Okay, thank you so much for taking the time to come and share this with us. And do you want these back, or can we keep them?
Yes, keep them.
Okay, very good. Thank
Thank
you
you,
again for
Steve.
doing that. You're welcome to stay. All right, thank you. Okay. Staff report and updates.
We have an item B under new business, authorization to proceed with de-annexation of parcels in East Post Falls District. There are 30 parcels east of Highway 41 between 12th Avenue and Hope that would need to be de-annexed from the East Post Falls District for improvements to the sewer lift station on 12th Avenue in anticipation of a future district in that area. The incremental impact is $69,258.51 currently this year, and in looking at the Greens Ferry overpass loan and discussion with the bank, this will not affect our requirements with them. I emailed 2 scenarios where the loan could be paid off in full as early as 2019. The maturity date on that loan was in September of 2023. So today I'm asking for authorization from the board to proceed with the process of de-annexation of those identified parcels in the East Post Falls District.
Your projection for scenario 2, which is the one I think that we might be most interested in, now that we see it. There is an adjustment for that loss of the 69,000?
Yes, there is.
Okay,
Yes.
so, all right. Any questions from the commissioners?
Just one caveat, Chairman. I noticed that one of the parcels that we're talking about de-annexing is parcel 30, which is where the 12th Avenue lift station is. In working with Diane's numbers and some discussion that she and I had, it appears that we might be able to pay off our entire Washington Trust loan by August of next year, which would enable us to have a fairly significant amount of funds accumulating in the East Post Falls District if we chose not to close it early, which could be used to make some preliminary improvements to that 12th Avenue station in anticipation of future development. And in light of that, I just question whether or not we should actually de-annex parcel 30. But I think that's something we can discuss as we move forward with the de-annexation. I just wanted to raise that as a caveat before we take any final action.
And we will be discussing this at,
Tuesday.
on Tuesday at a workshop.
Okay.
So,
When we put that in for further discussion, Len, on Tuesday at
Yes,
the
sir.
workshop.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Those are all good, and that's really the fine tuning we need to do on this process, but right now, it looks like at least the majority of that is action that we should take, so. Okay, sorry I missed that piece, it just
okay.
bounced right on by me.
I think it's interesting to note that we may be the second urban renewal commission in the state to do an actual de-annexation. I don't know of any others. Only Coeur d'Alene.
right. Yeah.
And they were for different purposes.
That was for different, that was to create money for the fire department.
Yeah. Okay,
So I need a motion.
anything else on that piece? If not, we'll move on to staff report and updates.
Could I get a
Chairman?
motion on that?
We need
excuse
a motion to
me.
move forward with the process.
Okay, thank you, I'm sorry. I would entertain a motion to move forward with the process for de-annexation as is presented by the Director Fountain.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Need a roll call vote?
Voice vote's fine.
Voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, now the staff report.
Now staff report, thank you. The ordinance to close the city center district was passed on April 3rd, and it has been recorded and sent with a letter to the State Tax Commission, the county clerk, and assessor. I had Expo, Jim Watson, and Rob McComb stop by my office last month, and they told me that they had sold one lot in the industrial portion and are looking to build some spec buildings in the area. There's been interest in 20,000 square foot buildings, and so he's contemplating building one or two of those to possibly lease out or sell. And he also indicated that Jacqueline Road to Beck will be completed by June 1st, and Expo Parkway to the western boundary of the district in July.
Good.
So, and I'm expecting reimbursement requests from Centerpoint Partners for the lift station improvements in that district, and also from Todd Prescott for Expo Parkway West, where Point Apartments is located. And then I just wanted to remind you of our workshop on Tuesday at 8 a.m. over in the Chamber Building.
Okay, good. Any questions of the staff report? Okay, if not, under item number 8, I would like to have executive session for briefly, if I could ask for a motion to go into executive session at this time.
I move to enter into executive session for the following purposes pursuant to Idaho Code 74-2061B to consider the evaluation, dismissal or disciplining of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public official, employee, staff member, or individual agent or public school student. And further, that no final action of making of any final decision shall be made in executive session, and that the executive session shall last no longer than 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
Very good. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, we'll move into executive session for.
Chairman, we need a roll call vote on
Oh,
that.
excuse me. All right. Roll call vote, please.
Waltstone,
Aye.
Carstensen.
Aye.
Crosby,
Aye.
Horn. Aye. Coles.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, motion carried, and we will come back into session at the end of the executive session. Okay, we're going to move back into open session, out of executive session, and I would entertain a motion to, based on our conversation in the executive session, to amend the budget, amend the agenda to include action to be taken relative to the action taken in executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved, seconded, voice vote, okay?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Pose same sign.
Chairman, I would just like to state for the record that the good faith reason for amending the agenda is that a final decision is needed on the matter discussed in executive session.
Very good, thank you. So, you all still good with the ayes on that?
Aye.
Okay.
Yes.
All right,
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we amend the existing budget for the commission to utilize a portion of the contingency fund to grant the executive director a one-time performance bonus
okay, an amount that's recommended by the,
in the amount recommended by the commission in its executive session.
Second.
okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, now do we need a voice vote?
Voice vote's fine.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Very good, thank you all. Okay, so we're done with that piece. Let's move on to commissioner comments. Any further comments that the commissioners would like to make?
I just have a question for Pete.
Yeah.
Since we talked about in the executive session was, what it determines whether it's a voice vote or a roll call vote?
Well, for URAs, there really are no clear-cut rules, so I try to follow what cities do. Cities, anytime there's a contract involved, it requires a roll call vote. It doesn't mean that URAs have to follow that, but the statute for cities says that any kind of contract, resolution, ordinance needs a roll call vote. So it's pretty much discretionary for governing bodies like this. But when cities are involved, they have actually have statutes that say what they need a roll call vote on usually. So
I always thought that you needed a roll call vote also when you're doing anything that affects the budget.
no, that's not true.
That's not true.
No.
Okay.
And another requirement for roll call specifically by statute is executive session, which we did today. So
Yeah, for sure. Okay, very good. Any other
That's
comments?
as clear as mud, but.
Yeah. Just say thank you.
You got to go on the record when you spend taxpayer money.
That's good.
Okay, any other comments from the commissioners? I don't have any other than congratulations on the commission, the agency being recognized for our work with the JUB engineers on that project with the bridge. And I can tell you, Diane and I were over at the display that they had, and there was a number of different displays, but the one that seemed to have the more interest from the people that were there was right around ours. And not a whole bunch, but a number of the engineers said, yeah, we did this piece on that, or we had something over here, and there were some pieces of that different ones that were there had touched it, and so they were taking credit for it too. But it was very nice and just an early go in the morning. But we both stayed awake during the whole day. And she went to bed at 7 o'clock, according to her. I lasted till 9. But,
A long
anyhow,
day.
Larry?
So the plaque, is that going to hang in your office?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, they gave both of us the same plaque.
I'd like to see if we could get one to put in City Hall too, because that's something that would be a real eye-catching award.
That's a good idea. I'll see Brad in the morning and ask him if maybe we could get another copy
See
of
if they
that.
could make
Yeah,
a big one.
a great big one. Yeah,
I really want to see that in our office,
Oh, I agree, yeah.
you know.
I can
and
see if they would do a duplicate.
They might, yeah. Except it doesn't say anything about the city of Post Falls,
That's fine.
but,
We
It's-
we gotta blow our own horn.
yeah, we were very surprised. And we were up there, got our picture taken. It's very possible that a news release is going to be coming down the pike here shortly from JUB Engineering announcing their award, and so that we probably would be included in, at least in that piece too, so. I don't have anything else. Diane, we're not going to belabor it, but I think you know how we feel about you, and we're going to move on. So we appreciate your work, and Pete, yours as well,
Thank you.
and all the work the commissioners do for the city of Post Falls. So if there aren't any other comments to be made, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Not, we're adjourned. Or all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, same sign for the opposite. We're adjourned.